The materials that you'll need to embroider her face are some black thread. I use this thin black thread here. It's just really nice to do the frames. And then just some regular embroidery thread for the colour, a little bit of white for the eyes. And I've just used this same thread that I used for her body. I just chose the darker section of that for her lips as well. So you'll need a really nice sharp needle and some pins for the placement of her eyes. So I'll show you how I place the pins. You just need to find round 10, which is the round where you've done single crochet 3 and increase. And you can actually see that here. You can see the increase here and then the 3 stitches and then another increase. I've placed the pins in the sections where I will be threading my thread through. So this will be the inside corner of where the needle will come through to make their eyes. So that's as close as the eyes will be. There's actually 2 spaces between them. So just above round 10, which is the single crochet 3 and increase, is where I've placed those pins. So there's that little increase, and I've just placed that pin in there, left 2 spaces, and then placed the other pin on that same round. Then I just go 1 round down and place the nose in the center there. And the mouth will be just down here in these 2 single crochet 30 rounds. I've tied her arms just with a piece of thread because when you're doing the embroidery, often the little arms get in the way and the thread gets caught up in them. So it's a good idea just to put a rubber band or a piece of thread around just to keep them out of the way. So just insert your nice long needle, the longer the better I say. So just pull that pin out and get your needle to come out through that same space as the pin has gone in. And then you can just get rid of that and pull through and leave yourself a tail at the back so you can tie a little knot when you've finished with the colour. So now you're just going to count 1, 2 spaces, and into that second space you'll just put your needle into that. Then just go up 2 rounds and a slight diagonal towards the inside and come out that space up there. Just pull your thread through and then just come back again down to that space and underneath that stitch that you've just made. Then you're going to be going up 2 spaces again up to this spot here. And at the top here, you really are just only going under 1 stitch. So just bring your needle out to the top under those 2 there and pull that through. Now just go across there, across the top, and you'll be going down to the other eye. So just lift up your little pin and see if you can get your needle to come out that same space. We won't need that anymore. And actually, now that I've done that part, I just get rid of the nose because it's a little bit annoying to have there. And just pull through. Now just count 2 spaces, 1, 2, and insert your needle into that space. You're going up 2 rounds, pull through, and then I just go back again down to the bottom. I do it different each time. I don't have a set pattern. I just know that I have to do the frame. So if I end up doing it a little different in other videos, then it's only because I just do it different every time. So then back up to the top again. And 1 more little stitch and that will complete the frame. So now that you've done that section, when you do put this stitch in, you're preparing yourself now to do the shading of the pupil. So then you're just going to go down a little bit lower than you already are. This is where you start going between the strands. And that'll just set you up for the filling of the black. And now you just go across inside, you stay inside this little black frame the whole time, and you just go across and you'll just be filling in all the little top area, the top half of the circle in black. Now sometimes what I do, which I will actually do now, is that I just push this thin thread back out to the back again and just have it hanging there waiting for when I'm going to do the eyelashes, because it's actually a little bit thin and it just takes so much longer with the very, very thin thread. And if that's all you have, that's fine. But now I'll just thread through a thicker black thread so that I don't have to embroider so many lines to fill in the space. The thicker black thread that I'm using is the same brand, it's just a number 8. And it just makes it a little quicker to fill in the colouring in part of the pupils. So just put it anywhere in the back and I'll just continue that same eye. And the same for the first time is just leave a little tail at the back, because then you just tie up those tails and tuck them into the back of the head and they disappear quite nicely. So we'll just go across and you're basically colouring in with thread. So just go down a little lower and across, staying inside that frame the whole time. If you need to go in and out of the same space a couple of times, that's fine. So I'm just going to go across to the other eye. And I do apologize for flipping the doll around so much in front of the camera. It's just that if I don't do that, then my hands will cover half the things that I'm doing. So by flipping her around, I keep her in view for you to see. Okay, so we're just going to do a little one at the top. And then continue just to colour in that section from one end of the frame to the other. It's a bit of a slow process, but once you get used to it, you can do it quickly. I am actually going quite slow because I really am not used to having a camera in front of me and embroidering while I'm looking through the camera. And just keep on going. This one looks like it will need another one. You just keep your thread behind like this and just keep traveling down and just out to the back, because I won't be using this thick one now that the pupil's finished, and it can just be tied up in a knot and pushed through the back of the head there. Okay, it still has a tiny gap. Oh no, that's good enough. Like I said, you can actually leave your threads all hanging out the back and then you just come back again and you can add a little line or two where you need to, if you need to. So that's the outside frame done and half the pupil. So now you're just going to do the eyelashes. So I just take the thin thread again and just going back into the same hole that you came out of. Now for the eyelashes, I just start in this top corner here. And then just go diagonally to this stitch just up here. So we'll just go into this space You just want it to go slightly diagonally across, because if you go into this space just up here above it, the eyelash will be straight up. So you want it just leaning slightly to the side. So just insert into there. Then just go under that stitch and out to the next one. Eyelash number 1. Okay, and then you just measure it up. You just hold your thread where you think the eyelash will go. You just gauge it for yourself, and the best place was just down in here. And then you just skip a stitch across here and go out just so that you're leaving a little bit of spacing between the eyelashes. It's not exactly one stitch spacing because these little pocket bubs are so small. With my larger dolls, I actually just do one full space, but these are tiny, these little things, so have to compromise a little. And then each time, just hold your eyelash where you think it would go, and that's the best gauge for you. And this time, the best place was here. So from here, I'm just going to go straight down to the bottom to do one of those bottom eyelashes. So just push your needle down out of that space. Then just go slightly diagonal. You can go in between stitches now, and I would split that stitch there just because it is the right position for the eyelash. And then under that black thread that you made the frame with, and just pull that through. And the next one, I usually just do that a little bit shorter. And then across to the top of the other eye. And that just gives you your little 2 bottom lashes as well. If you wanted, you could add a few extra eyelashes, but I tend to just do 3 at the top and 2 little ones, or otherwise I'll do 5 eyelashes and nothing at the bottom. But I do mix it up quite a lot, so it's good to experiment. And then just insert your needle in between these 2 stitches here, and down to in between these 2 stitches. And for this next one, you just place your thread across where you think the eyelash will go, and I'm just going to place it in here and down to the little outside edge down the bottom. Eyelash number 2, and the last eyelash will just go up to the side. I'm just going to put it in this hole here, and then I'll be taking the needle down to the bottom to do those bottom 2 eyelashes. Just a little angle to the side and in between the stitches. Back up to this one. Oops. And the last little eyelash, I'll just make that a little shorter. And then you just take your thread out, straight out to the back. And you'll just be tying a knot and tucking those ends in and hiding them inside the head. And there's the little eyelash there. So far, so good. So now we'll just get the colour. So just go in again with your colour anywhere from the back. And for the colour, I just only am going to be going across in the little centre bit here and colouring that in with the thread. So just go as close to the black as possible. But you want to leave this little corner here because this is where the white will go. Just leave a little thread out the back. And now you're just going to be going across this little stitch here and just filling that in as close as possible to the stitch that you've just done. If you need to go back into the same space just to fill it in, that's fine. Sometimes the stitching just stops you from getting into the exact same spot that you wanted to get into. So it takes a couple of goes. And I just keep my thread behind the needle like this. Now that one has gathered up, so I can just spread that down with my needle to where it needs to go. Because you don't want to have too many bunched up threads. There we go, and now we'll do the next one. It's getting nice and full now. Depending on the thickness of your embroidery thread, you'll need to do 3 or 4, maybe even 5 or 6 of these little strands. Okay, so I think that's enough filling in on that side. We can always come back and do another little strand if we need to. So I'm just going to push the needle through to the other side. I often do come back and fill in spaces that I've missed. That's why I like to leave the thread hanging out the back. And that's just nicely filled in. So we'll just do that to the other side as well now. And one more little stitch at the bottom. And then you can just send your thread out to the back. They're not exactly even, but it really doesn't matter in the scheme of things. When I do the white bits here, I will just let some of the white go over the top of this little blue here where I've gone wider. So this is where you have to compromise a little bit because it is quite tricky to get them exactly the same. I find that that's one of the hardest things about eyes. And this little eyelash is now hidden. So there's the eyes filled in, and now we will just do the whites of the eyes. So we're just going to go into that same corner where we first started the eyes, the frame, and just take your needle through there. And of course, leave a little tail at the back. Now, because these are so tiny, instead of just doing this one corner, I go from this corner to this corner and back again, because otherwise it's just too tricky to get your needle underneath. So I just meet up here with the blue and then go to this far corner. And sometimes the stitches do get a little bit lost, and if they continuously get lost, because sometimes it's just the nature of the crochet dipping in and out, I just give them a little pull and then they just come out nice and easily. And then just I do a little diagonal line. I keep going back to the same hole here. This is the same hole that I come out of, and then each time I just do a little diagonal line upwards until I reach the black area. So I'll just go up one little step higher than I was with that first stitch, and then out to that same corner again. And then the same on this side. You're just going to be going up slightly on the inside, but back out to the same hole each time for the outside. Now a little higher. 3 usually does the trick, but if you need to do more, that's fine. Just on the inside of that frame. You can actually go to the outside. I have done that, and just creates a different look. The frame is just there really to guide you, and you can just, once it's there, you can play around with it. Now I'll probably need to do one more here, so we'll just go in and out one more time. This doll is a larger thread, so, or not larger thread, it's a thicker thread, so there'll be more stitches required compared to when I use the 4-ply thread. So it looks like this one's going to take 4 stitches on each side instead of the usual 3 that I do. And just one more. I'm just going to put that back in the same space because I don't want it to travel up past this black, and then into this corner. So we've got room for one more up here. Then just go across to the other side. And it does look a tiny little messy still, but when we do the final little black lines down in here, then that will just neaten this little join. So we're just going to do the same on this side, go into under the blue, out to the corner. Like I said, the first stitch often does get a little hidden. Now that one was a little short, as you can see, so I'll definitely be going back under there again. Well, maybe not. It might get hidden here with the next stitch. We'll just go just to the side of it. Now you've probably noticed that I am covering up this inside corner. It's up to you if you do. I quite like there not being any black around here and it just being open and white. And that's just a matter of preference. So I do tend to go on the outside of that black frame. It's very tricky to see in this camera. I'm actually using my iPhone. So I'm just going to do one more across that bottom here, now that I've come to the last part, and just fill that in because it was a little too short, that last one. Or should I say that first one? And I'm just going to go across the top of it. So I'll just move these out of the way a little and just go back across the top of that first one. And then I'm going to be doing the little whites of the eyes. So I'll go from this eye across, and I'm just going across because it's just easier when you're pushing the needle to go across than it is to just go up into this tiny little space here. So that's why you'll see me often crossing from one eye to the next. So I'll just turn this around so you can see her the right way up. So you've just gone and put your thread up into the little black section there, And I am always pushing the face because the stuffing just gets caught up with the embroidery thread. So if you do regularly just push on the face, especially pushing down into the eyes and keeping the cheeks nice and chubby, it just does help. Okay, so you're in that black bit, and now you just want to go down under 1 or 2 strands and then across to the black area of the other eye in the center. And this is just the latest way I've been doing them. I do a number of different styles. I think that's going to be all right. Okay, we'll just try. Yep, that's pretty good. And then the same for the other side. And then you can just take your white thread out to the back. So that's how she's looking now, and the final part will be to add the black line down the side here. You can actually do a darker blue if you like. So I've just rethreaded the black that I had hanging out the back, and then just come in that corner. And then just come down to the bottom where you meet that black line, and then I just take it back up to the top again, the top of the blue and black meeting. And we'll just do the same here, just bring that down. And this time we'll just go straight across to the other side. Definitely need my pliers. I'm trying not to use them for the video, but it is a little tricky without them, I have to say. And then just take your thread out to the back. And there's the little eyes looking really cute. So you just spread your threads out a little to make sure they're sitting nicely. And that's the eyes done.